Alright, so I just got home from watching Suicide Squad 2, and it is way better than Black Widow, I gotta tell you that. It is way more exciting. I was engaged throughout the whole movie. It was not boring at parts, it was funny all the time. Every time they try to land a joke, it hits about 80% of the time, which is really good accuracy, honestly, for jokes. Yeah, basically I'm gonna go ramble about Suicide Squad 2. Again, full spoiler warning for the whole movie, so click off if you're not comfortable with that. Alright, so before I start talking about Suicide Squad, let me just catch you guys up on the problems I had with Black Widow. Number 1, it was boring as hell. Number 2, the characters were boring as hell. Number 3, the writing was really bad. Number 4, the dialogue was really bad. The character exchanges were horrible. And number 5, the acting was not great. Number 6, they have so much CG and it was really obvious it was CG. Number 7, it was not exciting. Number 8, I hated it. Number 9, it was really hot. And number 10, there was a random guy in the theater who kept laughing at all the terrible jokes, and it made the experience even worse for me. Now that you're all caught up, I'm going to explain my thoughts on Suicide Squad, and please keep in mind that I will be comparing the experience I had watching Suicide Squad to the experience I had watching Black Widow, because I did watch these movies back to back. Black Widow I watched yesterday, and Suicide Squad I watched today. So there are a lot of characters introduced in Suicide Squad. They have Squad 1 filled with 10 people. They have Squad 2 filled with 5 people. They have the people in Waller's office. They have the people in the enemy government. They have the people who are the resistance faction of the tyrannical government. And then they have the ancient starfish creature. Yeah, that is a lot of characters, but somehow they managed to balance everything out fine. Even with our main squad, which is 5 people, they do provide enough screen time for each character so we feel invested enough to actually care about them a little when they go through some hardships or when they're sharing their sad backstory with us. Now, to sum up the whole plot of the movie, so basically there's an ancient alien creature sort of that looks like a starfish who is able to mind control people by attaching a starfish to their face. And this alien creature is located in Corto Maltese. Basically, it is the Suicide Squad's mission to destroy all evidence of the experiments that the US government and the Maltesan government did on the alien creature. In the beginning of the movie, we get introduced to Squad 1, which is made up of a lot of characters, and I'm just going to try to list off everyone that I remember. The one that is my personal favorite is the Weasel. It's just a giant human-looking weasel who has killed 27 children. There's Colonel Flags, who I think is a returning character from Suicide Squad 1. Obviously, we got Harley Quinn, again from Suicide Squad 1. We got Captain Boomerang. We got TDK, who is a detachable kid. We got Mongol. And then, who else do we got? We got the Javelin. I know there's like 10 people, but I don't remember all of them. Especially because, spoilers, they all die within the first 10 minutes of the movie, which is that is such a good way to start the series off, because it shows that they're not scared to kill off any of the main cast. Literally anyone could die, and you just have to be okay with it. So it shows that, you know, there's actually going to be some tension in this movie. You're not going to be sure who survives and who's going to die. It actually makes you more invested in the characters. And Black Widow did not do this because, I don't know, Black Widow sucks ass, okay? So basically everyone dies in Squad 1 except for Colonel Flags and Harley Quinn, because obviously they have to be main characters since they're returning from the previous movie. It's a shame that they killed Dr. Boomerang. Dr. Boomerang? Mr. Boomerang? I don't remember. Captain Boomerang, that's his name. It's a shame they killed Captain Boomerang. I really liked his interactions with Harley Quinn. Harley calls him Boomer, which is so fun. Every single character exchange was consistently funny throughout the whole movie, which I love. Unlike Black Widow, where when the characters are talking to each other, they don't really feel like human beings. They just feel like they're reading a movie script to help move the plot forward. But the character exchanges showcases their personality. They show how they would interact with other people, so you can feel invested in whatever kind of friendship they have or will maintain or will forge throughout the whole movie. And I don't know, it's just fun. Alright, next in Squad 2, which is our main characters, we have Idris Elba, John Cena, a shark, Polka Dot Man, and Ratcatcher. Now, I am well aware that John Cena and Idris Elba is the actors' names, but I don't remember their actual character names. When I'm just watching the whole movie, I don't think they say the names of the people. I'm pretty sure they just call them Bloodsport and Peacemaker. Maybe they mention their name a couple times, but whenever I'm going to be talking about them, I'm going to call them Idris Elba and John Cena, because, man, that is just way easier for me to remember. Alright, then we have the Waller office, which not only consists of Amanda Waller, but it also consists of her employees, which there are multiple of. And then we have the bad government, which is the president, the president's uncle, and then like everyone else under them. And then we have the resistance, who is represented by a leader. and I don't remember their name, but they're a good guy, I guess. One of the main problems I had with Black Widow was that whenever the characters are doing a fight, the fights don't actually accomplish anything. There were multiple fights in Black Widow, first of which was that when Black Widow was going against Taskmaster, it just sets up and shows how fearsome Taskmaster is. But literally every fight after that doesn't really serve a purpose. It just shows that Black Widow is this really cool, badass woman that can essentially be a superhero without any superpowers. And the same goes with the fights with Yelena, Alexei, and Milena. Those fights literally accomplish nothing. They just set to establish what we already know about the characters, which is that they are badass and they can fight. However, the fights in Suicide Squad, they accomplish a lot of things. In the first fight that we see them, it shows to establish their powers because this is the first time that we are introduced to these characters. We don't really know what they do, even though Amanda Waller gave us descriptions. It'd be nice to see what they can actually do through combat. And we do get to see it, which is very good on their part. We get to see them use their powers. They don't explain their powers to anyone. They just kind of do what they do, and as an audience, we understand, alright, this guy's good at shooting things, this guy's good at doing this stuff and that stuff and blah 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 blah. Aside from that first fight which establishes the power, the other fights accomplish something else aside from showing how badass the characters are. For example, there was a scene where they brutally kill everyone, and within that scene we get to establish a sense of rivalry between Peacemaker and Bloodsport because they are very similar characters who have very similar backgrounds, and the movie even jokes about this. They try to outdo one another, they try to kill in more creative ways than the last to show that, yeah, I'm better than you kind of thing. It's like a Zoro-Sanji kind of relationship if you guys watch One Piece. And it was very refreshing to see. And after that, there was a fight with Colonel Flags. And I like that fight because not only is it a physical brawl, but it's supposed to represent something else because they both have opposing ideologies. And we get to see those opposing ideologies clash heads. And as an audience, maybe you want to pick a side, but if you really think about it, you can see where both sides are coming from, which makes it a good fight because you're conflicted. You don't know who you want to win because you know that one of them will definitely kill the other by the end of the fight. Unlike in Black Widow, where it is literally just black and white. Like, this guy is completely evil, there's no changing him, and Black Widow is like the good guy for trying to stop him. But in this movie, it's like a morally gray area, so you don't really know who to root for, and that's really good.
I just got out of the shower and I just realized that I did not talk about the Harley Quinn prison break scene. So there was a scene where Harley Quinn was captured by the Corto Maltesian government and she was able to break out by herself without any help. And it was such a cool sequence that showcased how Harley Quinn is a strong, independent woman without having the misogynistic backdrop as a setting, because in Black Widow, the bad guy was literally an old fat man who was in control of thousands of women through mind control. And then Black Widow beats them. But in this case, even though the ones who captured her were male, it's just because they were the authority leader, not really because of their gender, but because of their position. And I like how they didn't use gender for any jokes at all. They just showed that Harley Quinn is a badass, and we get to see her talent, which is her flexibility and gymnastic ability. And she used that to break out of jail. She's also proficient with guns, and we get to see that. So it's just a really cool sequence that doesn't really need to use misogynist as sort of a stepping stool to show how women can be strong, independent individuals.
After that, I like how each squad kind of accomplishes their own goal and it culminates at the end of the movie because first of all, we have the Suicide Squad Faction 1, which, I mean, they're dead, so they don't really have a goal to begin with. Suicide Squad 2, even though they've accomplished their goal, they do have their own sets of morals and their own ambition, and they do what they want to do instead of constantly being controlled by someone else, which is Amanda Waller. And even though Amanda Waller tells them to back off and not fight the alien overlord, the people in Waller's staff, throughout the whole movie, they see Waller act like a more evil character, I suppose. Like, she's not afraid to sacrifice anything. She's not even afraid to sacrifice innocent children, no matter if they're American or if they're another nationality, because what she's trying to do is for the good of the whole world. But the staff don't really see it that way, and throughout the whole movie, you see their doubts begin to increase over and over as Waller says these horrible things to her Suicide Squad. And it culminates at the climax of the movie where her own office employees are the one who turns on her and knocks her unconscious and provides help to the Suicide Squad so they can defeat the alien overlord. Now, I realize that this makes no sense to someone who hasn't seen the movie, and I really apologize about that. But I really liked a lot of elements about this movie, and it's just really hard for me to put into words. Anyway, I also like how, even though the resistance was just established within 5 minutes, like, yeah, we're the resistance who's trying to overthrow the government, we'll help you because our goals align. And throughout the whole movie, you actually see them do stuff. Like, Colonel Flag said, we're gonna cause mayhem over there in the building. So since we're doing that, you probably have free clearance to go to the building that you want to go to, and there's probably not going to be a lot of guards there. So go ahead and make their way there. And we see them make their way there, and we see them do stuff, and then at the end of the movie, they actually accomplish their goal. So even though they are kind of like a plot device that provides the main characters a method of getting into Jotunheim, they also have their own set of goals which they actually accomplish that we see on screen, which is absolutely insane, honestly. Aside from that, I really like Idris Elba. I feel like Idris Elba reminds me of Deadshot a lot. I feel like they have similar character arcs. I didn't watch Suicide Squad 1, so I don't really know what I'm talking about here, but I'm pretty sure in Suicide Squad 1, Deadshot has a kid, Idris Elba has a kid, they're both trying to do good things to save their kid, so I feel like it's kind of similar in that sense. I like Ratcatcher. Ratcatcher is a very fun character. I thought the acting wasn't really good, but they are such an endearing character that you just can't seem to hate them. I like Polka Dot Man. Polka Dot Man is just this very emotionless, sarcastic machine who actually cares about a lot of people, and I don't know, I just like that part. Even though they don't do much, at least they're funny. They provide a lot of funny moments. After that, we got Peacemaker. Peacemaker's just funny, not because of anything he says or does, although he does have good dialogue and good action scenes, but he is John Cena, so whenever you just see him, like the camera just like shows John Cena's face for like 5 seconds or whatever, you just can't help but laugh because it's John Cena. Every time they just show John Cena's face, like just chilling, I just laugh to myself because John Cena looks funny. And then we have Nana Nue, who is King Shark. I like King Shark. He doesn't do much. I think Nana Nue is the Alexi of Suicide Squad, but as opposed to Alexi, who is a boring, stiff character with no good dialogue or character interactions, Nana Nue is actually pretty funny in a lot of cases, and you can see that he's just really lonely and wants friends, and at the end of the whole thing, he actually gets friends in the form of the Suicide Squad, so it's like a happy ending for him. Unlike Alexi, where Alexi, the one thing that he needed to do was apologize to everyone, and he just didn't do that because comedy, but... check out my Black Widow video if you want to know why I hate Black Widow so much, although it is much more of a mess than this video. And to end things off, I want to talk about Starro the Conqueror, who's the starfish alien overlord. I like how, even though it was just a big monster who's rampaging throughout the city, it's actually a very tragic character because it was just chilling in space and then a bunch of astronauts brought back to Earth where it was tortured for over 30 years. So when it broke out, it just wants to wreak havoc for revenge, and honestly, that's relatable, dude. I mean, if you were tortured for 30 years, obviously you want to take revenge for those who wronged you, but this creature doesn't really know how to get back to the US government, and it has been tortured for 30 years in Corto Maltese, so it decides to take it back on the whole country, which is very understandable. And when it dies, it just says, I was happy staring at the stars in space. And it just dies. And it felt a little bit sad. I mean, I wasn't crying at Starro's death, but like, at least they have some emotional depth, unlike the fucking evil villain from Black Widow, who's just an asshole that's not really redeemable, and we don't really know why he did the things that he did. We don't even know how he survived, but with Starro we see their origin, how they died, and all of this stuff. So essentially there are no bad characters, and even the characters we don't get a lot of screen time, they're still very endearing and enjoyable to watch, even though they don't contribute anything to the story. I don't really have anything more to talk about. It is a great movie. I rate it 8 out of 10. It can never be a 10 out of 10 because, how do I explain this? It's like the movie switches genres like 5 times throughout the whole thing. It starts off as an action, and then we get a little bit of drama, and then we get to see like a kind of romantic soap opera scene with Harley Quinn, which is amazing. It was just so funny to watch because you're like, where are they going with this? How are they gonna tie this back to everything? But they managed to tie it back to everything. So like literally every single plot thread, they are connected in some sort of weird way. And even though a lot of the action scenes are ridiculous, they're still enjoyable to watch. Unlike fucking Black Widow, they have such ridiculous action scenes, and as a viewer, I was not entertained. I was just really confused. Like, how is this even possible? Why don't they just do this instead of this? But with Suicide Squad, you know from minute one that things are gonna get wacky, things don't make sense, but things are gonna be fun. And they continue that fun energy throughout the whole thing. They have good jokes, they have good character moments, they have good dialogue. Maybe the writing isn't perfect, but it doesn't need to be perfect. The writing is fantastic. It is impeccable for this kind of movie. The camera work, the CGI, the action scenes, everything was good. 8 out of 10. Would have been a 9 out of 10, but yeah, I don't like John Cena as an actor. I just thought he was funny. And that is basically my ramblings for Suicide Squad 2. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you guys next time. Take care.